Hi, I'm Mort, your host on Change Your Voice, Change Your Life. Subtitle, Not With My Wife, You Don't. Today we are into Botoxing of America and possibly the world. There are questions I ask about Botox for the strangled voice spasmodic dysphonia. In 1994, the FDA said that Botoxing the face was egregious. That means it was very bad. Today it's in, it's apparently the thing, and few questions are asked about the outcome. I have questions about the outcome of Botox for the strangled voice. I'm an expert in voice rehabilitation, and I deal with people who have undergone Botox for the speaking voice, such as spasmodic dysphonia. I'm going to play a before and after tape for you of cures of spasmodic dysphonia. My medical colleagues worldwide, one and all, maintain that there are no cures to the condition called the strangled voice. Henry Fonda had the condition. He's been cured by what I do, called direct voice rehabilitation. Shadow Stevens had the condition. He's been cured by what I do. Keith Erickson had the condition. He was a former player for the Lakers and the UCLA University, well known. Henry Fonda has been cured by what I do. Shadow Stevens has been cured of his spasmodic dysphonia by what I do. Keith Erickson as well. Robert Kennedy Jr. has the condition. He's an environmental lawyer. He suffers from spasmodic dysphonia. His ear, nose, and throat doctor, one of the top people in the world, tells him and tells me there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia. I report documented cures year after year of spasmodic dysphonia. The medical community, my colleagues, have closed minds and closed ears, I find, and I try to open those minds, but of late I have not been able to do so because I'm highly controversial. There's nobody reporting cures in the world save myself, unfortunately, and I try to explain what I'm doing, but unfortunately, again, I am not allowed to discuss cures at medical meetings or in academia today. The drug company Allergan is of the view that there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia, has invited me to recant cures, sending a representative from the National Spasmodic Dysphonic Association, which is funded by Allergan, the maker of Botox, with a generous grant of money from Allergan to the National Spasmodic Dysphonia Association. There are those who believe that what I am doing, reporting cures, is not appropriate. I, on the other hand, find that what they're doing is inappropriate because they do not give choice to their patients who have the strangled voice. They tell them, one and all that I know of, basically, with a few exceptions, that there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia. There are 14,300 ear, nose, and throat doctors. Only 200 of them give Botox shots in the whole country. They have a lifetime annuity, Full Employment Act. They get $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000, $4,000 a Botox shot. It takes a few moments, a few minutes, and they have a lifetime annuity, charging $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a Botox shot 4 to 10 times a year, each and every year for life. I report in the book titled Curing Hopeless Voices that just came out. It's written by me and Dr. John Curtis, my co-author, that there is another side to spasmodic dysphonia. I report individuals, one at the Mayo Clinic, taking 48 Botox shots, covering a period of 15 years, and never one positive outcome, not one, she reports. Why did she continue to take the Botox shots? Her doctor told her. Doctors in ear, nose, and throat and neurology will tell you, if you have the strangled voice, that there are no cures and that you have to suffer and live with the condition, because they in medicine have never had a single cure in 135 years of treating spasmodic dysphonia. There's another side to the story. Patient after patient I see, people write to me, email me, they call me, and they tell me the Botox shots they have been told would be positive and forthcoming to give them a voice has failed to do so. Nobody stands up to the drug company, Allergan, or to the medical people who are making that statement that Botox is doing what I might interpret as wonderful, as the New York Times has front page on March 2nd, 2003, front page on the Sunday edition of the New York Times, and I quote, "Botox is giving those with spastic vocal cords back their voices," end quote. There's no support for it, there's no documentation for it. On the front page I called Donald G. McNeil Jr., the writer, and he had no backup for it. The interesting aspect is that there are 13,000 reports on Botox, according to one of the writers for U.S. News and World Report. The interesting aspect is that it's all positive, basically, but there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia, which Botox says is the treatment of choice in the state of the art as well as the medical community. Patient after patient I see, hear from, tells me Botox is not working for them, it's ineffective. Yet there's no open discussion of this, and I find that the medical community and Allergan, the drug maker of Botox, are getting a free pass and a free ride to telling the American public and the world that Botox is doing the job for spasmodic dysphonia. From my experience, my clinical experience, it's not happening. Over and over and over, I get emails, I get letters, I get calls. It's not working for me, doctor. And my doctor tells me Botox is what I should continue to take. And they tell me with strangled voice, "I can't, that doesn't do anything for me, it's ineffective." So there's something wrong with what's going on in the treatment of spasmodic dysphonia. It's not only the problem with Botox that I find that is off balance, that is one-sided, but it's also the fact that surgery, which was a state-of-the-art in treatment in the early 70s and lasted for 20 years, the American Speech and Hearing Association says 2/3 of those who underwent the surgery were worse off after the surgery than before. I said that 14 years before in a peer-reviewed article on spasmodic dysphonia, reporting cures and noting that surgery had left a number of people referred in the same state as the American Speech and Hearing Association said, 2/3 worse off after the surgery than before. But still surgery is done, and Botox is a state-of-the-art treatment of choice. The question is the outcome for Botox that it's been brooded about 99% effective, safe and effective? Is it true? The book that I've written with my colleague, Dr. John Curtis, is that there is another side to the picture, and it's a dark side. It's not what we're hearing, it's not what we're told is true, and the book is telling you how Botox and the medical profession and the American Speech and Hearing Association are allied together to sell the American public on Botoxing of America for strangled voices. Is it fair not to give patients with strangled voices choice of treatment when the outcome of Botox is iffy, uncertain, and is one-sided? The doctors tell the patients there is no cure. When there is a cure, let's play the tape, the DVD, showing you the before and after. Stay tuned carefully. You'll hear the strangled voice, and then you'll hear a clear voice. And these are individuals who are talking about cures of their spastic dysphonia. The medical community and all academia is saying there are no cures. Let's play the tape.
And I took a round of antibiotics, and then they put me on a stronger antibiotic, and I took that, and I began to feel good, but the voice has been a mess ever since.
I'm commission sales at Sears, and that's my livelihood, is my voice. I got so depressed just not being able to talk that it definitely affected my life.
This voice was coming, I think, God damn it.
Within a month of therapy with Dr. Cooper, I was using my voice again to the extent that I could go out on interviews and auditions, and shortly thereafter actually worked.
You can hear the obstruction starting to obstruct now, I think.
This is the new voice.
There is that aspect of lightening up, but there also is an aspect of having the correct pressurization.
And he said, I don't want you to talk in that little girl's voice anymore. You talk in your regular voice. I said, but when I talk in my regular voice, you can't understand what I'm saying.
I had a strangled voice. It was very difficult to speak. When I did speak, it sounded strangled.
Before I had worked into the position of employment director, manager of employment. And he continued to make overtures.
To pick her up before too late and take her home. Do I feel that I'm likely to go back to it? No, I don't.
Ronald Figger. Okay, how long have you had this condition? A year and a half.
And he says, well, Ron, I'll give you 3 options too. He says, you can continue coming here for shots. You can call that doctor in California to schedule a surgery if you'd like. And then he goes, oh yeah, by the way, Ron, there's also this other guy. Go to his website, and he wrote down his name, thevoicedoctor.com, and handed it to him, and he says, check out this guy. He says he has a cure.
And so I found on the dystonia page that something that plagued people with focal dystonia was very often spasmodic dysphonia. And they called it, multifocal dystonia.
And I, as a patient who has experienced the fear and agony of thinking that my voice is disappearing.
It just got really bad lately. It chokes up. My voice chokes up. I can't breathe. I feel like I'm running out of air.
I didn't think that it could be so simple, but it was.
When the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, they act like a prism and form a rainbow. When the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, they act like a prism and form a rainbow.
Gradually through a period of a year, it kept getting progressively worse where within a matter of days it would occur.
Wait a minute. This is the patient's recovered voice. The mastoid muscle.
And then I'd go in and start talking to my boss, and at the end of like a sentence, it would start dropping. And he'd say, what's wrong with your voice? And I'd say, I don't know.
I thought, what's happened? What have I done to myself? I know no one out there has this horrible problem I've got. But I found out there's an awful lot of people walking around out there in this world that have the spastic dysphonia.
And they say that it's because some motor signal from the brain is overamped and it tightens up the vocal cords.
It's pretty tragic, isn't it? Pretty tragic sound, and it's quite different now.
The last time he injected me with half unit each in Botox, I completely lost my voice for 6 weeks. I was incapacitated. It was a complete roller coaster going through that, but that's the only treatment that they told me was available, and that I would be getting these injections for the rest of my life.
Couldn't think of any name, and my sister and I were joking around about how many people call the rabbit's cocktail, and I just said, oh yeah, wouldn't that be funny if I called it Q-tip? So we just called it Q-tip.
Can you talk with the rabbit again?
Hi Q-tip, how are you? Do you want to hop around today? Are you thirsty? Why did you bite my shoe?
Do you realize you change your voice when you talk to the rabbit?
Yes. I talked higher.
Who diagnosed it?
Scripps Hospital in La Jolla. Probably about a year and a half ago. They told me that it was neurological and I was born with it.
Other than the one time from Bryn where I had 6 months good voice, nothing. I believe that spasmodic dysphonia is curable.
According to legend, a boiling pot of gold at one end. People look, but no one ever finds it.
I've been here for the past 10 days trying to find a teaching position for the next academic year.
Jack, calm down. Broke his crown.
They didn't know what to do because they couldn't get me out of it. So eventually I went to other doctors who told me I had spasmodic dysphonia.
Trying to get help is very difficult because you can't communicate your problem or just your trials. They want you to go to psychiatrists. And how are you supposed to go to psychiatrists when you can't speak?
Well, and then he says, well, how long ago did you see Dr. Cooper? And I went, oh my God, it's been 6 years. It'll be 6 years in June.
As I go through the day, even right now, I'm tending to raise my voice and go in the upper register.
You remember that voice?
I remember it.
Did you like it?
I didn't like it then, didn't like it now.
That's to help. And after a while, I regained my voice. Not 100%, but much better than it had been. And after about 2 years, it started to again go, got worse and worse.
I hope that by sharing, others too will find new hope for a life that allows them that greatest gift that God has given us, the gift that makes us human, that gift we call communication.
You've heard the before and after on this DVD that I played for you. The medical profession in its entirety, I find, worldwide says that there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia, despite the fact I've documented the cures at UCLA Medical Center, 15 cures alone, including 2 chairpersons of the head and neck division, Dr. Paul Ward, who diagnosed one of the patients that you've seen, Marjorie, and said it was hopeless. I sent her back after I worked with her, and he confirmed that she had a normal voice and she's been cured of spasmodic dysphonia. The young lady, Gail Pace, was diagnosed with spasmodic dysphonia by Dr. Gerald Burke, the current chairman of the head and neck division. She had adductor and abductor, the worst types. One type is considered hopeless, 2 is beyond hope of any kind. The medical profession says there is no hope for a cure. I sent Gail back to Dr. Burke and his associate, Bruce Garrett, and they confirmed that she had a normal voice. She's been cured for over 14 years. The list and litany goes on. The problem is that the medical profession today, including those at UCLA Medical Center, remain in denial that there are cures of spasmodic dysphonia. These are my medical colleagues in academia and the American Speech and Hearing Association. They maintain there are no cures as well, and they prohibit me from reporting cures in their ASHA publications, the most prestigious area and field in academia for voice and speech problems. They tell me in writing that I cannot report cures. I could be published in ASHA, the American Speech and Hearing Association, if I tell what I'm doing, but I cannot report cures. I decline to accept those conditions. There are cures, and I report cures. Henry Fonda was diagnosed with spasmodic dysphonia. The famed actor was told it's hopeless. He refused to listen to me, do what I wanted him to do for 6 months, and I told him he's wasting his time. He told me that all the doctors he spoke with said there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia. Finally, he listened to me, he did what I wanted, and he was cured of spasmodic dysphonia by all-natural direct voice rehabilitation. He went on to do On Golden Pond. The interesting thing is Shadow Stevens has spasmodic dysphonia, had it, and he's a well-known radio personality and was on Hollywood Squares and so forth. I helped him to find a cure of his condition within 1 month of intensive direct voice rehabilitation. He's been cured for many, many, many years. Keith Erickson, the famed basketball player at UCLA and a radio broadcaster, and a Laker player had spasmodic dysphonia. I helped him to a cure of that condition. Meanwhile, Diane Rehm is on Botox, and Robert Kennedy Jr., the environmental lawyer, is on Botox. Both sound very ineffective and inappropriate. They needn't suffer spasmodic dysphonia. They are told that their condition is hopeless. The ear, nose, and throat doctor for Robert Kennedy Jr. spoke with me by phone and said that my position that there are cures of spasmodic dysphonia, and I'm sorry to tell you this, he said, it's full of crap. The MDs are taken with the fact that they know what is right because their theories say that spasmodic dysphonia is a neurological problem, a basal ganglia problem in the brain, a chemical imbalance problem in the brain, a psychiatric problem, a disease, a acid reflux problem, a molecular biological problem. All of these theories have never panned out to one single cure. The medical profession has never had one single cure in over 135 years. The medical profession loves to remain, I find, unfortunately, in a position that places them in the dark ages of medical history. I try to reason with them, but reason apparently is not appropriate because their minds are made up, they're closed to cures, and they say, despite the cures that are on the DVD, and there's a 2-hour DVD featuring those who have been cured, that it cannot be because they in medicine and academia say wholeheartedly, guarantee in writing on all their websites, in all their publications, there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia. A gentleman, an ear, nose, and throat doctor I work with at UCLA Medical Center years ago. I was on the staff and faculty for 8 years. I ran the voice and speech clinic for the medical center, and Dr. Jack Pressman gave me an accolade saying I was the best speech pathologist he ever knew in his life, serving with him for 8 years. They insist, and they are my colleagues, that there are no cures, although I have 15 cures of spasmodic dysphonia. The ear, nose, and throat doctor I refer to in the subtitle of the program is Not With My Wife You Don't. He came to me out of the medical center, which was doing medical treatment for spasmodic dysphonia, at that time surgery, came to me and allowed me to work with his wife. She was cured within 6 months by direct voice rehabilitation. The medical center continues to go on saying there are no cures in the face of cures not only of the doctor's wife, but of 15 other patients who were diagnosed at UCLA Medical Center, staff, faculty, 2 chairmen, that there are 15 cures of spasmodic dysphonia alone in one medical center. There is a cure of Ginger, who talked with the rabbit voice, and I indicate that spasmodic dysphonia is simply a voice problem. It is not a medical problem. That's why I can help cure it. I am probably the most controversial doctor in the world reporting cures. I'm the only doctor in the world reporting cures of spasmodic dysphonia. I find it unusual, troublesome, to say the least, that my medical colleagues and academicians will not allow me to talk with them at meetings and explain how I help cure spasmodic dysphonia. I have reported 4 different times in the American Speech and Hearing Association that there are cures of spasmodic dysphonia in 1974, 1979, 1980, and 2000. But officially, the American Speech and Hearing Association, officially, on its website says there are no cures, Botox is the treatment of choice, and the state-of-the-art treatment, and spasmodic dysphonia is a neurological incurable problem. That's poppycock. The problem that we face in this country and in the world is that the medical paradigm that says that spasmodic dysphonia is incurable is wrong. It's based on the wrong theory. The theories in medicine have never panned out to report a single cure in over 135 years. The gentleman on the ear, nose, and throat faculty was kind enough to let me work with his wife, UCLA Medical Center, and she was cured. This is not only true for one person, it's true for a number of people. But he said it in such a fashion that it intrigued me because he said, not with my wife, you don't. Now, if you have spasmodic dysphonia, and you're told by the medical community, and you are told, there are no cures, and you're told by the top of your nose and throat docs, there are no cures, think again. No, there are cures. The medical oath is do no harm, and natural healing. I do natural healing, and I do no harm. Botox leaves all too many people with outcomes that are not very positive. I report that in Curing Hopeless Voice Problems with my co-author, Dr. John Curtis. And the book is on the website. You can get it from my website. It's free. You download it. There's no charge. My books on voice problems are in the library. Stop Committing Voice Suicide. I talk about on the front cover, that the mystery of spasmodic dysphonia has been solved by what I do. Unfortunately, I'm the only doctor in the world that is reporting cures. There are others that could do it if they understood what I'm doing, but I'm not allowed to be in academia or allowed to present cures at medical meetings. This is a sad state of affairs. I'm the most controversial doctor in the world, reporting cures, documented cures. UCLA Medical Center, 15 alone. It's in the book. Cures at Vanderbilt, cures of the young lady from Scripps. I change the voice and I place it up in the face. All strangled voices are in the lower throat. The medical community says that all strangled voices are in the lower throat, and they characterize it as a dystonia, a neurological problem. It's not so. It's simply a bad voice habit, and the medical profession is not trained in practical voice use, and all too few are trained in practical voice use in the American Speech and Hearing Association. There is a problem, I find, in the treatment of spasmodic dysphonia, that I am the only doctor in the world, the most controversial doctor in the world, in the treatment of spasmodic dysphonia, reporting ongoing cures of this condition. I'm Mort Cooper, your host on Change Your Voice, Change Your Life. Not with my wife, you don't. Think about it. Bye-bye.